Everybody, welcome back to Reckoning with Jason Herbert. I am, of course, Jason Herbert, and I guess you're reckoning with me. And the thing I'm thinking about right now is the fact that a week ago, three friends and I sat down to talk about Ken Burns's new series on PBS on the American Revolution. This was the brainchild of my dear friend Liz Covart, who is the host and creator of Ben Franklin's World, which is this amazing podcast on early America. You should absolutely check that out. And joining us was our dear friend Michael Hattem. Michael is also an early American historian. He's the associate director of the Yale-New Haven Teachers Institute. And then just for funsies, I brought on as a secret guest my great friend and really kind of HATM co-conspirator, Craig Bruce Smith, who is a professor of history at the Joint Advanced Warfighting School, although his opinions are not those of the United States military, JAWS, or anyone else's other than him. Anyway, so what we've got for you today is kind of the live stream. We watched this first episode in real time. And so as you jump in to listen to the pod that you're about to hear right now, you're going to hear us talking back and forth as we get set up and so forth. And then you'll hear us say, let's hit play now. So if you are wanting to watch Ken Burns's new series, that first episode on the American Revolution, you're going to hear the four of us kind of respond to what we see on screen, asking each other questions, making points, and also talking back and forth to the over 100 people who joined us on the live chat to talk about this series, the American Revolution, and everything else in between. This was a lot of fun. It was the first time we ever tried to do something like that. So we wanted to make this available to you. Consider it, if you will, a director's commentary on the American Revolution by Ken Burns. So sit back and relax, because Reckoning with Jason Herbert starts right now. My name is Jason Herbert. I'm a Southerner who lives in the West. I'm a historian, an outdoorsman, and a movie buff. I like finding new answers to old questions, and this is a reckoning. All right, let's see. All right, we got 31 people. Looks like here in the queue. So we see the chat here to our right. Okay, episode 1, order to be on the PBS app. Okay, there's Lee. Thank you, Lee. Okay, people are in. Hey, everybody, welcome in. I am Jason Herbert. I am the host and creator of Historians at the Movies, which is the longest running watch party on the internet, as well as Reckoning with Jason Herbert podcast. And I am joined by two of my dear friends in the world. You probably already know them. You're probably coming to me from their stuff. So without further ado, it's Liz Covart. Liz, you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you're here and your favorite color and social security number.
Hello, my name is Liz Covart, and I am the creator and host of the award-winning podcast, Ben Franklin's World, which is a podcast about early American history. I'm also a historian of the American Revolution, so I'm so pumped for tonight because this is my jam, the Revolution. You can find the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts or at benfranklinsworld.com. I'm also the founder of a new online community for people who love early American history called the History Explorers Club. It's a place where curious minds explore the past together. And it's a community built by historians for people who love history, because together we explore early America, which we define as 1450 to about 1820, connect with others, and deepen your understanding of the past and the present. And you can find that at historyexplorers.club. So that's me. Michael, what about you?
I am a historian of early America. I am the author of The Memory of 76, The Revolution in American History, and Past and Prologue, Politics and Memory in the American Revolution. And I am currently the associate director of the Yale-New Haven Teachers Institute.
And actually, Michael, I'm just going to drop the links to your podcast episodes and my podcast so people can meet us both. Mm-hmm. So there's the pod link to Michael's first episode. I like both of his books a lot, so I can't pick between them, but you might have a preference.
I think the first one was from a dissertation, and I think, it's it has a lot of remnants of that. But the second one, the most recent, The Memory of 76, I think I tried to write for as wide an audience as possible. And so I hope I did that.
So in the chat, tell us where you're coming from. Where are you going to watch the Ken Burns, The American Revolution documentary tonight from? Hello, Mem from Somerville.
And if you have a favorite American Revolution documentary,
called The Patriot.
I was going to say, someone's going to say The Patriot, which is not a documentary, but there's Jason saying it's a Patriot.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like other examples. You know, like there was that 13-part History Channel documentary about 20 years ago, which wasn't bad. And there was I don't know. This is a deep cut. Like there was I think it was I forget how many parts it was. But there was a documentary series on A&E back in like the late 90s. There was like a multi-part documentary series. And then of course there's been a bunch, you know, like the Ben Franklin, the Thomas Jefferson one from, 30 years ago. So, the revolution has not been very starved for documentaries.
Do you know what's exciting actually right now is I'm on the PBS website and it cannot load right now. So it seems to me like that's a sign that a lot of people are excited about watching the show, and that's cool. So,
well, Jason, we have people from all over the United States watching. I saw people from Colorado and California, from Vermont, from Massachusetts, from Boston, which is where I'm watching from. So you're probably watching the WGBH feed, like I'll be doing. From New Hampshire, which is where I grew up. There are people from all over. Virginia, which I just moved away from. Cincinnati, Ohio, I just saw.
Great town,
awesome.
Cincinnati.
I haven't been there yet. I really want to go. I want to see
you
Reds
can't sleep on Cincinnati. It is such a cool town. I've been a few times, which is weird because I'm from Kentucky, right? But I had never been to Cincinnati till 2022. And it was like, what is this place? The food scene in Cincinnati is ridiculous. It's really good.
Has a good food scene? Cleveland,
Cincinnati's
Ohio.
Great. Like, I love Cincinnati. It's a walkable town. My second favorite city, though, is Boston. After Chicago. Chicago's
now he's sucking up.
What?
Now he's sucking
up.
Well,
I'm not worried about the Illinois contingent on my podcast.
But I actually do really love the Midwest. I know when I go and visit, they're like, oh, you stopped in flyover country, but I don't look at it like that. I do. I like the Midwest.
I went to school. I have 2 degrees from Wichita State and a PhD from the University of Minnesota. What was it? Cincinnati chili? Really, Jason? Yes, for reals. No, actually, so Skyline chili is an abysmal. Like it's this thing. Do you guys know about Skyline chili? About Cincinnati chili?
No.
Cincinnati has a chili?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's chili. And then but it's like got these. What's interesting is it's got these really Greek roots to it. It's got like these Greek spices. If people are listening in, they'll be able to tell you. And then it's served over spaghetti noodles with onions and cheddar cheese on top. It's an adventure. It's an acquired. It's different. It's fine.
Interesting.
It's fine. It's different. I'm trying to get this thing to reload. I'm trying to get my PBS to go. I've got PBS on my phone. Wait, I could just have one. I also have the. I am
logging in from New Haven. So if you have any other Connecticut viewers.
Is there closed captioning so I can see what the historians are saying? Oh golly, maybe. Let me take a look, Margie. I don't quite know. Let me see if we can do that. I'm gonna hit some buttons. I may destroy all of this.
What is that? In the chat, you mean?
I didn't see anything. Hey, Margie, I'm glad you're here. Oh yeah, I just saw your thing.
Is there an advanced button? Raise hand. No.
What about the settings? No,
I'm looking on settings right now. The live stream. Hide watermark, public chat. No.
I'm going to go into help and see if I can search.
Okay, you do that. And welcome, Jerry Crawford. who is joined in portrait orientation. So every time you guys log in, it says you joined in like portrait orientation or some other. Like Virginia has now logged in. Did you guys talk about John Adams while I was like messing with my TV?
No, we did not talk about John Adams, which actually probably is my favorite, but it's not a documentary.
I know, but you know, my younger son Benjamin ended up getting his name from Benjamin Franklin, right? Largely because of Tom Wilkinson's portrayal of Ben Franklin in that series.
That's the definitive Ben Franklin for me.
Absolutely. And Liz, you might know. Have you heard of Benjamin Franklin, Liz? He was a guy. He did things.
Wasn't he that famous Bostonian that, you know, was apprenticed to his brother and then ran away?
He was. Oh my gosh, we have an interloper who has showed up here.
What? I was invited here, Jason.
What? Liz, I told Mike we might have a special guest show up here all of a sudden.
Oh, he failed to tell me, so I'm just completely surprised.
Yeah,
Jason, I just texted you the instructions per I found on riverside.fm help.
Oh, what did it say? Hold on. It's in my phone. Hold on just a second. Craig helped create HATM. It's actually all of his fault.
No, it's not.
Do you know this story? Hold on just a second. Live captions in the studio. I'm clicking on the buttons here.
Ooh, Bridget did a 4th grade history project on Abigail Adams. That's pretty cool. You know what I did in 4th grade? I researched the signers of the Declaration from New Hampshire because it's also our New Hampshire history curriculum in school.
That's cool stuff in 4th grade. We didn't do that in New York.
You know what I didn't do was when I went out to graduate school in California, I learned about the missions project, and I did not get to build a mission.
Like Mike, Michael, what did we learn about? Like, I don't remember us doing like much of anything.
In 4th grade?
St. Wadja, I'm drinking a Trillium cider for it's actually an apple beer. In my Trillium glass, it has an homage to the East India Company on it.
I have no
so that is my colonial drink.
Company.
I don't think they're going to be created a very favorable light.
Hold on, Liz. There it is. You can almost see it right there, ladies and gentlemen, right on the biceps.
At some point.
What?
The guns had to come out at some point.
Listen.
Yeah.
This is the Second Amendment conversation we're having now.
It's already been established that he edits them. So it's out there.
He can't edit tonight.
It's out there. He edits them.
Ma'am, my parents, I was born in Boston and I grew up in New England and visited Boston regularly because my dad worked here, but they're from New York and New Jersey. So the fact that I have a muddled accent that has some New Englandisms in it is a plus because they sound very New York.
I had never thought about your accent in terms of like Boston, Liz. Like I don't
really have one. It's very muddled.
Yeah, it's not. I just think it's generic Northeast.
Yeah.
Yes, I do respect the Boulevard Tank 7. Gosh, I got to tell you guys, we've been doing this version of this on Twitter and then Blue Sky for like 7.5 years. I'm kind of digging like the chat group and then like having the experts. By the way, I am the least expertist of the 4 of us here.
Well, it's not going to stop you from talking.
Oh, no, absolutely not. You know, part of the reason why I went into history is that I wanted to be the guy in the bar who was like, actually, but it turns out I was already that person.
They're showing a preview for it on WGBH now.
Oh, for reals?
I've got it queued up on pbs.org. So just tell me when to hit play.
You'll hit play in 3 minutes.
We got a few minutes.
Hi, Carol. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
Shout out to what is this? The
Drew's in Orlando. Drew and I have known each other. For those of you in the chat group, I've known Andrew H. How old? Since we were 10, Drew? Since 6th grade? Something like that? So, yeah.
Oh, Jim just posted the recipe for George Washington's punch.
Port St. Lucie. Carol, did you know that I lived in Stewart before I moved here to Colorado? So I'm just down the way from you. It's a little weird because I don't see the handles.
Are you the Carol that's my aunt who is coming in from Port St. Lucie? That would be fun.
Florida. I am so going home. Like next year. This is my last winter in Colorado. I'm going home. Like as fast as I can.
Haven't you been?
Oh, but you've been doing valuable
now?
work with the tribes.
I am, but like I miss my gopher tortoises, guys. You guys remember how like when HATM started back in the day, I was always posting pictures of turtles that I would like find on the road and
that's
move
how you
them.
won everyone over. It wasn't with.
I know that
Turtle
bought me
photos,
so
yeah.
right. Thank you, Allison. Right, that bought me so much goodwill because nobody has trouble with the guy.
Yeah,
who
you were like
moves turtles.
You were saving a turtle a day. You were like Tom Cruise when he was saving people.
I mean, more than that because I can run faster than Tom Cruise.
Are there armadillos in southeastern Colorado? Could you start saving them?
No, but we have marmots on the mountains, which is great. Thank you, Drew. I know, right? I miss the gophers too. So forth. But I do have. What do I have here? Hold on. So here we go.
All right, we're imminent.
Yeah. So here, this is my Bigfoot. So I work closely. If you guys see over my left shoulder, I work closely with Comanche Nation in my job for the Forest Service, and I actually have a Comanche name, which is Pianape, and Pianape is a Comanche name for Bigfoot. So I have my little Bigfoot, or my Bigfoot stuffed animal here, is a love for Comanche Nation. So
I did.
All right, everybody, push play.
Up, play.
All right.
Yeah. Peter Coyote.
All right, you're ahead of me then.
Are you
I have a DAR commercial.
doing the thing?
Yeah, I'm still getting sponsors.
Are you? Oh, you know what I'm doing? I'm watching on the
Hi,
Super
Carla.
Stream.
Thank you for joining us.
Probably going to get a lot of donation requests. You know what? Now that we're doing this, you can donate to me specifically. I'm not your local PBS station. They're going to be just fine. But I...
That's evidenced by recent developments.
Or you can just go to Reckoning with Jason Herbert podcast and subscribe, and we'll build the empire one download by another. Okay, so for those of you who can't watch for whatever reason, although if you made a donation to PBS, it is available to you right now. So you can, if you made a donation to your local PBS station, you can actually watch this right now.
Oh, is that true?
Hmm?
Well, I assume it's true because you said it, but I was not aware of that.
Historism, yeah, that's.
Do I need to pause it? I'm on the flame and spark.
All right, mine just started.
I see an Iroquois longhouse.
Oh wait, maybe it's a commercial.
I've got a rising sun, and
Wait,
I think
it's a Bank of America commercial. I thought it was the
Oh,
documentary.
mine just started.
A Bank of America commercial.
See,
so this is the first time we've ever done this. We're all a little bit out of sync.
Are you kidding me?
Watching
You guys
it on
know
our sessions.
this is exactly what happens every single Sunday when we do Historians of the Movies, and everybody starts tweeting along on Blue Sky, and I'll say, hey, everybody, wait until exactly 8 p.m. Eastern.
I'm just getting Coyote now.
To start.
Hey, we have to synchronize like it's the crossing, and it's December 25th. Come on.
Okay, mine's starting now.
Okay.
Mine too, okay.
Yes, I've got the flame.
Hard for old, Carol, I feel you. I, too, am an old. I'm the oldest person here, except for Michael. Who is older?
Man has found himself changed, so conquering despotism. God wills it.
Hi, Barbara from New Rochelle, New York. Closed captions for y'all so I can watch instead of listen while we watch the doc. Liz sent me directions on how to do that, and I am an idiot.
Credits,
so give me a second. I will work on this.
Opening with Native Americans, Jason.
Yes, the Haudenosaunee Longhouse. You guys got quiet on me all of a sudden. Okay. Chrome click. Settings. Hold on.
So I'm interested how early they start this. What is the starting point?
I mean, well, obviously, this is a very deliberate choice. This is really interesting. This is a really interesting choice on their part.
But Michael, do you think they're playing on the sense that the United States is built on this sort of Iroquois Confederacy, or do you think this is going more towards Native American origins?
I think it's more that, because from the episode descriptions I see, this is going to end in 83 with the end of the war. So they're not going to be able to tie it later to the Constitution, which is kind of the move that I think you're alluding to, which is this idea that some historians have had that the Iroquois Confederacy was in some ways an influence on the formation of the Constitution and the federal union.
Can I call a timeout real quick? Does anyone else seeing the live captions that I have in front of me when you guys speak?
No. I'm just
Liz,
Ben Franklin stuff, and I assume
the way to set up the live captions
is shrieking somewhere in Mississippi.
Ooh, that's a Len Tantillo painting. I actually have that one on my wall.
Okay,
Albany.
So to do the live captions, we're going to post a link to Liz. Is it possible for you to post that same link in the live chat? Because you can set up your live captions to this discussion via your settings.
Sure.
You have to go to settings and then accessibility. And then there's a button for live caption, and you click on that button, and that'll do it for you.
Sorry, guys. Let me send that again because I think
you are doing terrific. Thank you, Liz. By the way, everybody, this was actually Liz's idea to do this whole thing. So everybody, we can ultimately thank or blame Liz for tonight. Why not both for this? And just so you know, I'm going to brag on Liz real quick while we're going here. This whole Historians of the Movies thing was both inspired by a conversation I had with Craig years ago about the film Predator, because that relates to this. And then also Liz, because I was kind of sitting and watching and listening to Liz's podcast, Ben Franklin's World, and thinking what cool things you can do with history beyond being in the classroom as a professor or whatever. I had such an admiration for the kind of stuff. And I was listening to Liz, back in the day, early on. I was early on listener to Liz and stuff. And that kind of gave me the inspiration to do this whole HATM thing. Cause I was like, you can do other stuff. So now Liz is here and I blame her.
I didn't even know what a podcast was when Ben Franklin's World came out. I think that was the first podcast I actually was aware existed.
Is that right?
I had a lot of people who didn't know what a podcast was, and I had to explain it to them and then beg them to be on the show.
They're showing writing.
I know. Are you? Yeah, you guys getting the gunfire?
Yeah.
No, I've got self-evident truths and crossouts. It looks like the rough draft.
So obviously, this is the original draft, Jefferson's original draft of the Declaration.
Oh, look, George Washington.
That includes the infamous slavery clause, right?
So the interesting thing is what way are they going to play this? Is this showing that Thomas Jefferson is anti-slavery from early on, or is this that Thomas Jefferson is willing to make compromises from the start?
I don't know. This seems to be very, very introductory so far. They kind of started with the Albany Plan of Union, and now it still seems to be
it's a montage.
Yeah. I think this is still basically the intro.
Rocky IV of history.
It will be interesting to see where they start the narrative, right? Because it's always a question for historians of, how do you do the start of the revolution?
Because in Ben Franklin, he took a very sort of centrist, sort of standpoint, tried to get everything. So I think here he's going to have to make some choices.
Absolutely. I mean, he's already made a big choice by choosing to focus specifically on the war.
Yes.
Right. And we all, I'm sure many of us are aware of the famous John Adams quote where he says that, the war was no part of the revolution. So it'll be interesting to see.
I do appreciate how this montage is
as a separate section of the revolution. I would push back on you a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's more.
I do
rushed.
appreciate how they're talking about the rivers. We tend to forget that roads in early America sucked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Full of tree stumps, really muddy in the winter.
Yeah.
So to get around what is now the United States, you had to largely travel by river. So the Brandywine, the York and James, the Hudson, they're very important rivers.
So you mean that battles just didn't happen because people like rivers? But it's even like the ocean was actually, it was easier to cross the ocean than it would be to go to the hinterlands of the frontier.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I finally got this thing going on my big screen back behind me.
Is it
So that's good.
unalienable or is it inalienable? No one's getting the joke. Come on, Hattem. That was right for you.
I'm writing a book about the Declaration. I get the joke.
Oh, well, my favorite thing about historians, if you guys are listening right now,
Rick
is the
Atkinson,
modesty.
first
Really,
talking head.
it's only a matter of time until they say, "Oh yeah, I'm writing a book on that." Thank you so much for asking. So there's that.
So let's go right now. Who is Mr. or Mrs. American Revolution writing right now?
Oh, that's a great question. I have a list of people who I really like. At the very top of my list is Kathleen Duvall.
Liberty's Exiles.
She's writing about Yorktown right now.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would like to. It's like the aftermath of Yorktown or the battle.
I'm sorry?
The aftermath or the battle, or both.
I don't remember, but I think it's about the revolution. I would think it's probably going to be both.
Yeah.
Cool.
Her book Independence Lost remains
Chris
my
Brown.
favorite book on the American Revolution. But really, everything that Kathleen has written, she writes a lot on Indigenous America. If you guys are listening, and she wrote a new book recently, Native Nations, which just won every single award, including awards you haven't even been created yet. They're just kind of bookmarked to give to her. It's so good. I got to throw some love towards our friend Lindsay Travinsky as well. Who's doing good stuff. I don't know who else you guys like.
I mean, you'd probably have to argue. I mean, right now it could be Atkinson, like at this second.
I mean, in terms of popularity, if that's a thing.
I'm saying reach and impact right now.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I mean, it's sad but true. But our probably the nation's best-selling historian is Bill O'Reilly. So
if you call him a historian, sure.
Well, I say all his books are killing this, killing that. I said that his memoir should be called Killing History.
My in-laws did give me Killing England for Christmas one year,
and
I think it's still on the shelf unread.
Michael, we're making people queasy, so no more references to Bill O'Reilly.
What are we making people queasy about?
Nothing. We're not talking about it anymore.
Oh, by the way, I have to say all views are my own.
Not me.
That's a good disclaimer.
All my views are Craig's as well.
Diseases. So this, if you want, there's a couple of good books. Pax Americana.
Oh yeah.
And also The Contagion of Liberty.
Yeah.
The germ type.
Yeah. Yeah, that is an interesting book, and I recently recommended it to a teacher in my program here in New Haven who was doing a unit for her fourth graders on smallpox. Smallpox in the Revolutionary era, and she used Andrew's book, and it was very helpful for her curriculum unit.
We actually have an episode on that.
That's right. Yeah,
the little series on inoculation and vaccination.
Well, while we're on that topic, I mean, the book I really dig is J.R. McNeil's Mosquito Empires.
Mm-hmm.
That was a book that really kind of turned me, I was already thinking indigenous history, but really started to turn my head towards environmental history as well. Right. And think about, the role of malaria, especially at Yorktown, when all the boys are too sick to come out and fight the Patriots. It was a big deal.
Okay, so we're going back to 54 here.
So it's a very conventional
Fort Necessity.
take.
Yeah, Fort Necessity. This is the
That's that little war.
The origin of the origin story.
So, but it's
will.
interesting.
That little war that George Washington started, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Can we talk about Crucible of War?
there's
George
an
Washington.
I like
instance
Crucible
of
of
man
War.
in this war. Sorry.
Man, he's never going to live this down.
Why?
Starting this global
The
war.
interesting thing is, it depends how. Again, I would argue it depends how you count, because you could say the French started it when they forced the British out of Fort Trent, but because they don't fire a shot, old GW gets the rap forever.
Yeah.
Can I just go meta and think about really what it means to be human? And maybe it's just the inner workings of the human condition that said that warfare was inevitable all along. Maybe warfare was the friends that we made along the way.
Gordon Wood is crying right now.
Warfare was the friends you made along the way. Is that what
Yes.
you just said?
This is you. You're what are you, a Greek historian? You're Thucydides.
First of all, I'm reading this terrific book on Pompeii. So I'm thinking about the nature of man and woman. Man. If you guys are reading the chat right now, my fans are yeah. Okay, DC, pre-revolutionary American history, Crucible of War by Fred Anderson is really, if you want to know the 7 Years' War, that's probably the first. It's a big, but a single volume history of that war.
I think you could actually
really,
see
really
it
good.
in my background on my shelf over there.
Uh-huh. Jason, can you let people know where the video of this will be available afterwards? Because some people are having a hard time following along.
We're gonna do a couple different things. I'm gonna send all of the stuff to Liz and myself, and we'll get that out to people who are on like Liz's mailing list, also subscribers to my Substack, and so forth.
And people who registered should get an email about where they can watch this later.
Yeah. And we're also going to make, I'm going to take this audio and put it out as a podcast as well. So if you want to listen to this or whatever you're listening in, you can do that as well. So yeah, Crucible of War, everybody, really terrific book.
We got Joe Ellis in the house. If you don't know, I'm not going to get into it here, but if you don't know, Google Joseph Ellis and Boston Globe and buckle up.
There's another book, as we had like West, that I really like, just after 7 Years' War, called War Under Heaven by Gregory Evans Dowd, that I really like. So if you guys are interested in the indigenous stuff, that's kind of really what I'm doing here, guys. That book is a really, really terrific book. It really kind of speaks about Pontiac's rebellion. And if you're interested in things like revitalization movements and stuff like that, it's a really terrific book. I've always thought it reads like a movie. Myself, I'm a big fan of the book, and I almost went to Michigan for my PhD, and I got waitlisted. So go for it instead.
Vincent Brown is a fantastic historian.
Fun fact, the Ken Burns team actually vetted most of the historians on this show from my podcast.
Is that right?
Did you get a finder's fee?
No. And I didn't get a credit, but David Schmidt told me that this is what they did. He said that for Ben Franklin, the Benjamin Franklin documentary as well.
Well, that makes sense. Ben Franklin to Ben Franklin.
Yeah.
Well, this makes sense too. Most of what we cover is the revolution.
That makes sense. No, I mean, if I can tell you, for people listening in, I mean, that's such a cool niche thing that you do, Liz, which is really kind of cover that long revolutionary period, which is so cool. And like, you have such a really cool amount of guests who will come in and talk about like the intellectual aspects of this, maybe the environmental histories of this, talking issues of gender, of labor, of slavery, of indigenous stuff, like no shortage of like different kind of like stuff. You can kind of come in as like, hey, this is the flavor that I'm interested in here. I always think it's really, really cool what you do.
So we just saw Colin Calloway, who is,
see this? Colin Calloway.
Yeah, Colin Calloway really needs no introduction as a
for Native Americans. He's the guy.
Native Americans and the Revolution specifically.
Yeah.
So if you come across,
blows my mind he doesn't have PhD students.
Hometown friends, Boston.
Now, okay. Okay. Interesting.
You can still see the old State House because the British didn't burn the city on their way out because Washington had the cannon on Dorchester Heights. So that's why Boston has more revolutionary buildings than many other cities like New York, which suffered that fire in 1776.
Right.
Again,
There's
we'll have Ben Karp
has written a book about that fire recently that came out 2 years ago, called The Great Fire of 1776.
Yeah, and there's also the again, I'm recording not far from Norfolk, where the British did hit some things, but most of the burning and destruction was actually on the hand of the Patriots. But we don't like to talk about that much.
Okay, we have
Alan Taylor. I haven't seen him for a while.
I'm having to put this on my phone so I can monitor the chat as it's coming in because we're getting such great conversations here.
I don't think I've seen Alan without his glasses.
Yeah. So obviously Alan Taylor is the author of the Plural series.
Yes, the S's.
The S's. Yes. The American colonies, American revolutions, American republics,
American frontiers. Next.
The American colonies was really significant when that book came out, and I think I used it when teaching, and I'm sure so many people use that book in teaching colonial America, and because it was one of the first synthesis of that sort of continental approach, right, to early American history, and so it was really valuable for that. But for me, as the series sort of has gone on, it's kind of gotten a little bit disconnected, I think. For me,
Liz, that was a flex.
Revolutions book didn't seem to work for me, I think.
I'm sorry, Jason.
That was a flex, Liz.
Yeah.
Oh, he wrote all over my dissertation. Oh, really? How was that, Liz? Why would he see your dissertation, Liz?
It's shelved somewhere.
Well, that's Vince Brown. Okay.
I mean, this is a really, really important point, right? The historian Tim Breen has written, well-known articles about the sort of consumer revolution that the colonies go through in the 18th century, leading up to the 1760s, 1770s, and the cultural impact of that consumer revolution, the sort of meaning of British goods to their sort of imperial identities.
And you see that in individual, again, whether it's Washington or Hancock, you see that come up in these individual stories too, of the key big founders, but also of the average person.
Yeah,
why the boycotts are effective.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why the boycotts, the boycotts really changed the meaning of those British goods, right? Which was a point
actually
in the book called Marketplace of Revolution.
I actually really disliked Marketplace of Revolution because I wanted it to be the revolution to be all about ideas.
Yeah.
But as I've done more and more research, I think people did whatever they needed to survive and what was in their best interest. So the economic role plays more and more in my ideas now.
Like economic necessarily. I think of it as like part of a group of books that came out in the 2000s that started to take, I think, a more cultural approach to the origins of the revolution. So that one, Sarah Knott's book, I think, falls, even Nicole Eustace's book falls into that, this sort of emotions, the role of emotions and emotional history, as it was called.
Sarah Knott had the sensibility take on the revolution.
Sensibility in the American Revolution, a really, really interesting book. I'm forgetting Brennan McConville's The King's Three Faces, which is a book about how colonists over the course of the 18th century actually developed increased connection to the monarchy rather than less as the revolution was approaching, which really complicates the story in interesting ways.
Yeah, can I jump in?
Yeah, go, your show.
Scarlett just made a point here, talked about how she loves the interjection of both indigenous and enslaved stuff, like early in this series. And I think it's, I mean, that's so many times. I mean, that's just been a constant frustration, especially for the indigenous stuff.
Yeah.
to get this in here. And like what we see here, right, is like, I think one of the threads, Mike, you and I were talking about this before this comes in here. We're going to see the taking of native land to be a huge, huge factor in this whole story as it starts to unfold here. And for those of you listening in here, the American Revolution doesn't end, for Native peoples in 1783. The war continues against the Patriots, for decades afterwards, because it's just one thing after another, after another, after another. So if you continue to watch this series, and we hope that you do over the next few nights, please do continue to keep the Indigenous perspective in mind. And if you've got questions, find me on Blue Sky at Herbert History. And if you've got questions about Shawnee history or whatever, or Haudenosaunee or Seminole or whatever, be happy to point you to some.
Ritterton in the chat. Ritterton makes this interesting comment about the islands and the British islands in the Caribbean, and remind me of the title of Andrew's book.
Which one?
I'm thinking of The Men Who Lost the Revolution, but it's one
and then he's
before
got
that.
the new one.
It's the other one. I can't remember the name of it, but
he's got one
probably it's probably An Empire Divided, it was called. The American Revolution in the British Caribbean. And I think it's probably the definitive book on that topic of the role of the British islands in the coming of the revolution.
So the interesting thing with the sort of the positions of the natives, is America just taking on the position of one of the older empires? Are they just now the new Britain, the new France? Is it just a continuation of sort of the struggle over, the quote unquote middle ground? Is it just new flags, same issues?
Yeah, I mean, there's a scholarly trend nowadays towards, to thinking about empire as the continuities of empire across the revolutionary period into the early republic. And, I think that can be a valuable lens for thinking. And we just saw Kathleen Duvall, who is,
you've got Mike Whitkin and Kathleen Duvall and Colin Calloway coming in. I mean, just, if you're listening in, it's like a murderer's row of people who do Native history.
Yeah.
Maggie Blackhawk is on.
They've done they've made a really, really conscious choice here to make sure that Native peoples are visible right from the beginning of this story.
So,
right?
And they talked about that in an episode. Sarah Botstein and David Schmidt talked about how it's important. They said you can't talk about the revolution without Indigenous and enslaved people.
Yeah, and that's obviously that's a function of the last 30 years.
Apparently, you can in Florida now, and also in Texas.
30 years of scholarship on the revolution. It's probably the role of Native Americans is probably one of the most important threads of and contributions to the scholarship of the revolution in the last 30 years. And so I think what we're seeing in this documentary is very much a product of the last 20, 30 years of work on
Joseph Brandt.
So that is the thing, though. I think a lot of what at least I've seen in the press is that he's trying to incorporate the latest scholarship. But to your point, Michael, for the average viewer, for a lot of people, this may all come out as new, but this is stuff that's been kicking around for decades.
Yeah. And
What's really interesting.
I saw an article, an interview with him where he kind of sort of downplayed that and said, we're not getting involved in historiography. We're just trying to tell the story as it happened. And I mean, that's kind of a problematic quote, of course, because
but you could argue that he's entering historiography by the fact he said I have to, like, he's balancing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Which then makes it strange to try to absolve yourself of, I mean, maybe it's, look, academic historians don't have the, don't have high approval rates in the country. And so maybe it makes sense for him.
I recall, Michael, on some Twitter thing years ago, you referred to Gordon Wood's his future biography. His title will be The Last Objective Historian. Maybe Ken Burns is the true last objective
Ken Burns
historian.
is the true, yeah. That's funny.
The thing that's really interesting is Sarah Botstein and David Schmidt, the two people who worked on this film with Ken Burns for so many years, noted that their process of filmmaking is just to tell the story. Like, they don't have a lens, they don't have a view. They view themselves as unimpacted by our time frame. And yet, when you that the fact that they purposely went after the latest scholarship says that their interpretation is framed by how we view things today.
I just don't understand that why take that.
But the thing is, if it's a film, a book, whatever, you're supposed to have a claim and interpretation, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I mean, this documentary, it betrays something. I mean, this documentary can only be a product of its time, right? This documentary, what we have watched so far in this first half hour, this could not have been made 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's also something, because at least as historians, we admit that. They were reluctant to admit that. They didn't admit that on the show.
Why? Like, own up to that. I mean, me personally, as a historian of memory, I'm watching this as a primary source, basically.
That's how you watch all of us. We're all your little experiments.
That is how I watch all of you. That's true.
Can I pause for a second?
Comment from T.
I want to give this proclamation.
Mr. T. If it's not, I'm just going to go with it. So he pities the fool who doesn't believe that the 1763 proclamation was important, and I think it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Obviously, for cutting off land, which is money making, which is tied to Virginia drawing their borders to the Pacific. But I also think there's an ideas element here that it cuts off protection past, which removes protection, which is the basic element of society, of a nation, of a kingdom.
Of the relationship to the crown, especially, right? By the time you get to 76, they're talking about, the king has put us out of his protection.
Yeah.
Right? So, absolutely. I mean, the proclamation line...
There's Phil Deloria.
It's, of course, I mean, it's very important. I mean, there was in some sense, it sort of turned off the safety valve, right, of westward movement that would... But also part of it is that the further the colonists get into the continent, the less they can be controlled by the.
Well, this is a huge problem, right? Because the British Empire's got. Listen, for you guys thinking about this right now, the British Empire is far more than, say, Great Britain and Ireland and the American colonies, right? You've Caribbean, you've got India, you've got all these spaces. British Empire can only administer so much space, right? So from a sheer administrative standpoint, they're like, no, we stay put where you are.
Yeah.
There's a real fear of more warfare breaking out.
Yes. Yeah. Which, I mean, we're just talking about how, George Washington starts the 7 Years' War. They're talking now about, the 7 Years' War. I mean, it's the most costliest war in history, right? Because by the time it's over, the British national debt has skyrocketed, and a lot of the changes that we see after 63 are part of a coherent program of reform to not just to reform the colonies, but for the purpose of paying down the debt, right? For the purpose of paying down the debt. There's very much a sort of an austerity party, in a sense,
of course,
Grenville and the people around him.
Even Fred Anderson says in his book, the British were never looking for the colonists to pay their share. They were looking for them to support the soldiers they stationed in British North America after the 7 Years' War. Just quickly here, people have been asking for teachers' resources, that they want to see these maps in their classroom. Again, Sarah Botstein and David Schmidt noted that they created all sorts of resources. They want you to use this documentary in their materials in the classroom. So I posted the link before, but I just posted it in the chat. Yeah. But if you just look up pbs.org, the American Revolution, you'll find it under several of the tabs there. They have the maps, they have lesson plans, they have all sorts of resources for you to bring it in.
Oh, so the comment here about the impact of Hamilton, absolutely, it's huge. Even though historians have flip-flopped on Hamilton many times since 2015, from, oh my God, this is the greatest thing that ever happened, to, well, blah, 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 blah. Well, actually, it absolutely has had an impact on the way people, specifically of a younger generation, view the revolution.
I mean, I wonder, like, I don't know, like, sometimes I wonder about its shelf life. Like, are like students that you're getting now, are they still aware of it?
Oh, my students, remember, are older, so who
Really?
knows?
Yeah,
So-
yeah, okay. Your students are not the typical.
So yeah,
students.
so we just showed the stamp. We're at the Stamp Act. We've been just jabbering away, probably just who knows. But the Stamp Act, I think, again, does anyone want to contradict? I think this is the key moment here. I mean, we could argue the French and Indian War, maybe the long term impacts, but it's the Stamp Act that really makes everyone feel British authority.
Yeah. I mean, the 7 Years' War is the context, right? But the Stamp Act, following the Currency Act of '64, right, and the Proclamation Line, it's really the thing that sets off the resistance, and in a striking way. And the resistance to the Stamp Act is interesting because it's the most violent resistance of the entire imperial crisis, right? Because it emerges quite organically, and by the time that you get to '67 and the Townshend Acts and further resistance after, elites realized that they had to take control of the popular resistance and marshal it so that it wouldn't end up in destruction of property like it did all over the colonies in '65.
So the flip side is, again, I don't disagree with you, Michael, but is that they're trying to have some ideals, some ethics on it, and restrain it. It's not just, hey, don't smash our stuff. It's also, if you go too far, it's easy to dismiss it. Oh, this is a riotous mob.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact of the matter is that if there hadn't have been that the level of organization that emerges after repeal of the Stamp Act, the crisis probably plays out radically differently, right? So, Stacy Schiff, interesting.
Jumping back to maps, just super fast. If you guys haven't seen Max Edelson's book, A New Map of Empire, there's a really wonderful interactive website that I actually used when I was writing my dissertation, and now the book that has colonial maps, and it'll allow you to go in and do some interactive stuff. I used to teach with it.
Yeah,
check that out. I'll put a link in there, or you can just Google Max Edelson New Map of Empire.
One of the points that he makes in that book is really interesting, is that many in the British ministry really have very little idea what the continental North America looks like.
Very few of the empires had a very.
They're trying to, and yet they have to legislate and administer, and they just have very little understanding of what's going on the ground.
But the thing is, it's viewed as like a backwater. So, Michael, being a native New Yorker, I assume that's how you look at the rest of the country, as some backwater.
That is not. First of all, I am from New Jersey.
Oh, gross.
Oh, you've been lying to me for all these years.
New York. So,
hey, careful! All my ancestors are from New Jersey.
It's really nice to see Bernard Bailyn in this documentary.
Yeah.
Bernard Bailyn is a legendary American Revolution historian, just early American historian generally, and who passed away a few years ago. And so obviously they recorded that.
Do you think, Mike, that Ideological Origins is the single most important book on the American Revolution?
Oh, it's got to be. It's up. It's got to be up there as top.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like the last half of the 20th century, then probably yes. Yeah.
So the only podcast that Bernard Bailyn ever did was mine.
That's amazing.
That's a flex.
That is amazing. When
I was a grad
student,
and we talked about his book, Ideological Origins.
When I was a grad student in 2017. It was the 50th anniversary of Ideological Origins of the American Revolution, and we put on a conference for him to honor that anniversary. And I was the organizer, and so he came, and the attendees and panelists were like all his former students. So it was a real fascinating 2 days. He got up and gave an hour-long talk. He was like 93 years old, and gave like an hour-long talk about what he would change.
It was great.
Yeah, what he would change in this book that he had written 50 years ago, and that had changed the field of American Revolution studies. Fascinating.
But I interviewed Ken Burns when the Franklin series came out, and he called Balin his favorite talking head ever from any of his
That's
projects.
cool. I'm just glad to hear it wasn't Shelby Foote.
So I think we have to talk about the Shelby Foote in the room.
So yeah, because some people when I initially posted this thing on Blue Sky, there were some real questions like, and I kind of hey, and I kind of wrote this thing on my Substack about, hey, love him or hate him, Ken Burns has had a very big voice in the memory of American history writ large, right? And some folks were like, well, why would you hate Mr. Burns? And there's been a lot of pushback specifically about that Civil War series, specific to the leaning on Shelby Foote, who was not a historian, for his ideas and memory of the war, and really kind of took that in a lot of, and of course, because of the success of that documentary, it starts to get accepted as gospel in a lot of ways. But Craig, do you want to keep going?
Yeah, no, I mean, so here's, again, I don't know, but historians gave Ken Burns a lot of flack for Shelby Foote.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is this, how he's very much incorporating the latest scholarship? Is this almost like an atonement for the Shelby Foote?
I mean, it wasn't that he used Shelby Foote necessarily. It's how Shelby Foote's how he used Shelby Foote's perspective.
Well, yeah,
right. And it's like it was, he has there's a line about, it started out as a war over states' rights and turned into, like, you know what I mean, like. Shelby Foote offered a very Southern perspective, and Ken Burns needed to incorporate that in his mind for a documentary in 1990 to try to produce a documentary film that would appeal, to people from the North and people from the South. And that's a really fine line to walk, and Shelby Foote, I think, was in some ways his most important tool for trying to do that. So, as most historians, I think
we've had enough Civil War talk, guys.
Huh?
This is the Revolution, not the Civil War.
Listen, it's a long delay, Liz. We don't have a Civil War without a revolution. Therefore, I've got a quick question for you, for an Easter egg for our audience listeners right now. We're talking about Thomas Gage. Does anyone know where you can find the Thomas Gage papers? It's an unlikely.
Oh, I do. I've used them.
We all know. We all used them. Liz, your hand was up first.
Tell us, Liz.
Dr. Covart, where can you find the Thomas Gage papers?
They're actually at the William L. Clements Library at the University of Michigan.
Yeah.
Because after World War I, when a lot of British lords were broke, Americans like William L. Clements went in and purchased their papers. So they even have the original. No, maybe it's the Clinton trunk. They have Sir Henry Clinton's trunk. But they have the Sir Henry Clinton papers as well. They have so much from the Revolution there, and they're in Michigan.
Still my favorite library. Like every time I've been to this library, I go in there and it's like, it's so great,
Somebody asked me online, they were like, who's going to be the Shelby Foote of this series?
All right. So we've got Ben Franklin in the cockpit, which so Franklin has released private letters that try to blame everything on Governor Thomas Hutchinson.
Right.
And so the question always becomes, does this turn Ben Franklin from great man of empire into a patriot? Is this purely personal for him?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I think it's a bit far to say it's this thing alone, but it certainly helps.
He was moving towards this direction over a long period of time.
Absolutely. I mean, he's writing in 1765, he's writing marginalia and pamphlets talking about how Parliament has no jurisdiction over the colonies, right? So like this, I always think of like the Gordon Woods biography of Benjamin Franklin, the Americanization of Benjamin Franklin. And that's basically, his argument that he sort of, that this is the sort of breaking point of when he becomes an American.
I do
Joe
think
Edelman just helpfully put in the chat the primary sources on Franklin's examination.
Do we have a favorite?
That's good. That is worth reading. Franklin? That is absolutely worth reading.
guys, we're coming up on holiday season and things like that. Like, do we have a really good biography of Franklin that's for like the general reader that you like to recommend?
I still think his autobiography is the best.
Yeah, well,
His autobiography is
his-
good. I really like Nick Bunker's The Young Ben Franklin.
I have not read that one.
I mean, I
It's
think
very
it's
good.
like there was a Ed Morgan wrote a short biography of Benjamin
Yep,
Franklin.
that one's good too.
That is really good if you just want something short and kind of quick to get the lay of the land. I still think
Kelsey's
that's
here;
worth
she'll
it.
know. Kelsey,
Yeah,
you want to?
we're all waiting for Kelsey's recommendation.
Kelsa Pelletier is in the house. She was with us when we did the Ben Franklin series.
Hey,
Kelsa's
Kelsa.
probably the single biggest expert of Franklin in the world right now. Who do you like, Kelsa? You're in the chat. We'll put it out there.
Said she likes brands.
Well, no, that's Joe, whoever that was.
No, she said it above.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
How
I
did
could
that
see
guy
the Morgan
crank out-
biography being really good for students, for sure.
How did he crank out those like 1,000-page books every 2 years?
I watched. I saw an interview with H.W. Brands where he talked about this, where he was like he would like pick out like a subject he wanted to do a class on and like research the material while teaching said class. And there's I think in a lot of ways there's a really smart thing to this, because one of the cool things about being a professor is the process of discovery, especially when you are not teaching in say your own wheelhouse or something like that. Maybe you've been asked to teach something that's beyond your specialty, and then you and your students get to explore this together. So I think that he was using that. I'm trying to be polite here.
You may remember from such HATM podcasts as Die Hard.
So we
We're
saw
the Annette Gordon Reed.
We saw Annette Gordon Reed just a few moments ago, and
I love her.
She was actually a subject in my last book because of the role that she played in the Jefferson DNA.
So here's a notable absence of guests. Where's Mary Beth Norton, Liberty's Daughters?
Yeah,
and her work, or Laurel Ulrich, who also wrote about women. There were more people they could have drawn that are expert in women's history of the period that they haven't.
For sure.
And Mary Beth, she's been on my podcast several times.
Yeah.
She's actually really dynamic.
Yeah. I listened to that episode, and I watched the talk she gave. That was a really interesting book there, her last book. But
the first advice column.
So Cassidy.
I was talking about 1774.
You were thinking 74, yeah.
So
I'm thinking
in the chat says women made the boycotts work. That's absolutely right, because women controlled the household, controlled purchases. So if women were not in on this, it doesn't work.
I mean, they also circulated the lists.
Yeah,
they also circulated the lists. So I mean, they're at the heart of the resistance movement in 65, especially in 68 and 69.
But it's also what brings them into the political sphere more so than ever before. And a lot of this is we could talk about even the name of founders and previously founding fathers. I like founders because I think it's the whole generation. But we could talk about who is a founder, and I could argue it's anyone that was for the cause, aiding for the cause creation of the country.
Yeah,
regardless of status or.
Yeah.
Well, for those who are listening in,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, who, what are the books on revolutionary women that we really like? Who's out there that we really, I was thinking about Jennifer Morgan stuff earlier.
It's Kerber, it's Birkin.
Those are the classics. I
have a sneak peek now of Lauren Duvall's The Home Front. Comes out next month. It's very good.
Oh, I have no doubt. Lauren does good work.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I think if you don't know anything about it and you're wanting like an introduction, Carol Birkin has 2 books. That the first one is First Generations, which is sort of a synthesis of the first generation of scholarship on women's history in early America, and then she has Revolutionary Mothers, which sort of carries the story into the Revolutionary era. And those are the 2 books I always send people to first. As just sort of broad syntheses as an introduction.
Serena, she's great. I sat on a panel with her at Shear one time, and I sat there going, "What am I doing sitting on a panel with Serena Zabin?"
Oh, Serena.
I'm actually going to be on a panel with
fantastic.
her and Alan Taylor in April about the Revolution as a Civil War.
Yeah. Serena is
Easter egg, I think they just used Laura Linney, who played Abigail Adams in the HBO
Yeah,
miniseries for that last voice.
They're going
Really?
to have Paul
That's
Giamatti
great.
too, which is probably the greatest thing that this documentary has done.
That's interesting. I'll say Serena.
Here's Serena Zabin.
Yeah, I first came across her like from her first book, which was actually about colonial New York, which is what I worked on as a sort of undergrad, which was Dangerous Economies, which is really fascinating political economy stuff. And then, the Boston Massacre book is just
it's
really impressive piece of work. It's she's one of the she's one of the leading Revolutionary era historians.
I'm still shocked that didn't win a George Washington Book Prize.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't really founder laden, which seems to be a theme with that book prize.
Say again?
It wasn't really founder laden.
Yeah, they move it around.
And that they always nominate those books. They never win.
Yeah.
They win. They move it around.
I'd love to hear an example that was not a founder laden book.
I mean,
Marcus
Stryker
Wall Striker
won with the Phyllis Wheatley book.
Yeah.
But Phyllis Wheatley is considered one of the founders
that's
now.
True. That's a good point.
Redeker won for slave ship, I think, back in one of the early
that was
ones,
like
right?
fellow Kentucky.
That's a long time ago. The current
Yeah.
trend is it's got to be about a founder or founder laden.
Yeah.
And it's got to be a particular founder too, because the John Dickinson book is amazing. I mean, so is yours, Michael. I was rooting for you and Jane pretty consistently. But yeah, it's always
that Frank
Southern founder.
I was surprised that Frank Cogliano didn't win that because his book seemed perfectly.
Yeah,
fit.
it seemed
Frank
like
is a
it was
fantastic
perfectly
historian.
pitched.
I just talked to Frank the other
Friendship
day.
of Washington and Jefferson. It's just so perfect for that award.
If you didn't know, Michael was nominated for this year's George Washington Book Prize for the memory of 76. And that's what we're talking about, is that the prize tends to favor books that have a lot of founders or a particular founder.
But I don't think that's a
But Craig disagrees, and that's okay.
I think I don't think that's true, but I also don't think it's a problem having foundersy awards. Someone's got to give them. You're not getting.
I mean, there's not a lot of book awards for early America, to be fair, and there should be more. To be honest, I don't see early America represented very much in just general type of awards.
No.
It seems
But I think we're going to have a moment because I think Joe Edelman, Karen Wolf, and I counted at least 6 books coming out about the Declaration of Independence this year.
Can I push back on that just a little bit, Mike? Because I feel like we've actually seen a lot of stuff on Indigenous America winning a lot of awards, right? And again, I think sometimes we start to say early America, we start to conceptualize ourselves towards New England or Virginia. But I hate to pound them on the desk here, but you've got such amazing scholars. Even going back to I remember one of the books that really turned my head early on was The Name of War, right?
Yeah.
It started to kind of pivot my head miles towards there. And you've had so many other things. And we think about this sometimes as a colonial English affair, maybe colonial France. The Spanish Empire, and I think there are real ramifications for that, especially when we start to talk about belonging and identity here in 2025 with people of Hispanic descent here in the United States today who live in California or Florida, New Mexico, these places like that, because these are colonies, they're Spanish colonies, but they're part of the American story nonetheless. So I'm hoping to see, more awards kind of shifting west, if you will, because I'm a Western historian now.
We've started to see that with Kathleen's book, which was. But I was talking longer term.
Certainly, yes, absolutely.
So just answering a question here about state religion in the colonies. There was actually an official state religion that was Anglicanism, the state religion of Great Britain. However, we know that places in New England didn't really approve of that. They came here for their own religion. So you tend to see in New England more your Congregationalism or Puritanism.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, Quakers, it was a very religiously plural colony. And New York as well was not founded on Anglicanism. It was more Dutch Reformed with lots of Lutheranism mixed in. And you see the introduction of Anglicanism after the conquest, the second conquest really of 1674.
And then especially after the Glorious Revolution and Leisler's Rebellion, it really becomes a flashpoint in New York City politics, between the dissenters who are everybody was not Anglican versus the Anglicans, because they so outnumber the Anglicans, but the Anglicans control the church and the city politics, and so religion is a real flashpoint for struggles over power and authority more broadly.
I have a question.
Here's Liz's beloved Boston.
When do we get to talk about David Hackett Fisher?
Oh, it's always a good time to talk about David Hackett.
I figured you might respond to that.
Wheelhouse.
Can I share with you guys and also the audience when I decided I would become an American historian? I was taking a class on the colonies with Robert Owens at Wichita State. Flew to Boston to visit two of my friends, Justin and Drew, and was reading Paul Revere's Ride on the flight as I went to Boston for the very first time. And we go to the Old North Church. And I'm just full up on the Revolution at this point. I mean, I am just brimming with stuff. And we get in the Old North Church, and I'm like, it was like this religious moment inside a church, right? Where I was like, I have to do this. This is what I have to do. I have to tell these stories.
So why
every time I go to Boston, I have to make a pilgrimage to the church because it means so much to me.
Why didn't you come to Brandeis and you could have been there with me?
Only Minnesota would take me.
David Hackett Fisher's book on the Paul Revere's Ride.
I love it.
Is just really, really impressive.
Have any of you read The City State of Boston?
Oh, by Peterson?
Yeah.
I started to listen to it and I haven't. It's just a very long book.
It's dense. It looks very nice on my bookshelf.
I mean, at this point in 2025, I don't know what anybody's thinking writing books that size. It's so presumptuous, to just the amount of time that it takes to read a regular size book.
Let me give you the three.
Then to say basically my book deserves 3 times that amount of time. It's just so utterly presumptuous.
All right, so here's Escape from Pompeii, which is coming on my podcast on Wednesday. Right? Nice, looks like 200 page-ish of text. Then I've got Michael Livingston's Bloody Crowns. New History of the 100 Years' War. It's supposed to be terrific. Mike and I were supposed to be last week, but I had to reschedule. And then I also have Max Mueller's Wakara's America, which is also super thick, but really, really good.
I'm not cutting you off, James, but we're at the Boston Massacre.
We're already at the massacre.
Baby.
It hasn't even been an hour.
So, hey, lots of stuff happened. So what we have to talk about is the Boston Massacre a massacre, which is one of my favorite Ask the Undergrad questions.
Did all the original colonies have an official religion or just in the South? Well, Maryland did, right? Maryland was the Catholic colony.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The other thing I'd like to highlight, and that Jason will appreciate from my California training, there's a lot of great history and events going on in the West Coast and in the Southwest and what we would now consider the West and Midwest at this point that is not appearing in our American Revolution telling. What is happening in the Revolution deeply impacts Spain, and Spain's actions deeply impact the settlement of California, what's going on in Santa Fe, what's happening in Arizona and parts of Texas or Tejas, and all up and down that what we would now consider the American West.
Yeah, Claudio.
Plus indigenous histories too, and the trade networks being disrupted.
When it comes to thinking about the West in
an Uncommon West? The Uncommon...
it's Claudio Sanz.
West of the Revolution.
West of the Revolution, sorry. Like Claudia's got like 4 or 5 books, and I think I mixed a word from each one of those books into the title there.
I'm gonna give you the episode link to Claudio Sant's West of the Revolution, but please bear with me. It was episode 14.
Oh,
So
can I tell you
it's
what?
a little
Can I
rough
tell
to
you
what
a
it
thing,
is
Liz?
now.
I didn't realize it'd been that long. Wow.
I got a kick out of one day. I decided to go back and listen to. I never told you this, Liz. I went back and listened to some of your early pods. Right,
They were all the best I could do at the time.
Totally, but for what I'm saying is, and I've actually said this to people who are wanting to do a podcast or things like that. Just start. It'll get better over time. You'll figure out what works for you, things like that. Like Liz's early pods, you can listen to them and go, you can hear where they are now. You can hear like the bones of that, but they're not as polished. They're not, frankly, Liz, you weren't as confident on the, as an interviewer at that time. And that,
frankly, I was a junior scholar interviewing senior scholars.
It only comes with time, right? And you learn as you're doing a pod, like how to talk to people, how to sit back and just let them talk, all kinds of
if you do want to start, contact Jason or I or Michael. We're happy to help you get started.
Not Craig.
We all help each other out.
Craig has been on my pod more than any single person, I think.
I'm the champ.
I did a video about the Boston Massacre, like a short video with Ken Owen a couple of years ago. It's like a 7-8 minute video that we were sort of like testing out a kind of format that we were thinking about doing, but it's still up on YouTube and it's made to be useful in the classroom. So I don't know if I could find the link to that, but
Patrick just put a quote in the chat: "Facts are stubborn things" by John Adams. It's a good quote.
Oh, we just skipped over like a whole lot of stuff. We're up right at the T. Right?
There are 4 more nights.
There are
5 more nights.
Five
more nights?
Yeah.
It's a 12 episode series.
No,
just so you know,
12 hours.
I would have slowed this down a little bit.
There are going to be post of this whole documentary airing events where historians come together to discuss things. Joe Edelman, Karen Wolf, and I will host one in the History Explorers Club. You can learn more at historyexplorers.club. I know Michael Hattem has one. There's a book club that he helps participate in. So he'll be having a recap event. And Jason, maybe we need to reprise this conversation with you and Craig and have one, maybe in January or February after the holidays and everybody's had a chance to watch.
We're trending over on Blue Sky, HAT. So apparently for you, those of you listening and joining in tonight who are not part of the usual HATM thing, Historians of the Movies for the last 7.5 years has been every single Sunday night watching a film together and then live tweeting it, either first on Twitter and now on Blue Sky, starting first with the most historical film of all time, National Treasure. And we use the hashtag HATM over there. So we're trending over there tonight as well. So apparently the whole crew is also doing its thing there tonight, as well as the people here. Also, can we give a shout out to Karen, Liz, because she's like the best human?
Oh, Karen is the best. So Karen Wolf and Joe Edelman have been helping me with the podcast since about 2016, 2017. Karen used to run the Omohundro Institute of Early American History and Culture at William & Mary. She's now the director and librarian at the John Carter Brown Library at Brown University.
Talk about a map room. Oh, that's got some maps.
That's a great archive. But she's so generous and she's helped a lot of us when we were younger scholars, and she continues to help younger scholars. And I think you were going to see her in this documentary in later episodes. I'm pretty sure she was a guest. So that'll be great. And like I said, Karen, Joe, and I will have an event in January or February, kind of recapping this after everybody's had a chance to view it, including us. I don't know about you, but I haven't really seen as much as the documentaries. I like just snippets because we keep talking about it.
No, but so one of the things that, because the movie aspect that I do, I think I've started to become really, really interested, like Michael has, in how we remember things, because so much of how we understand the past actually comes through nostalgia or our feelings about things, and like how it's filtered through pop culture and so forth. I think to be able to sit back on this and really kind of watch the series and then think about what it's drawing on, not just historically, but also who it's speaking to and why in the moment in 2024, 2025 and 2026, really, as we move into the next year, becomes really important.
Jason, there was a request for your Substack, and Michael, if you have one too.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
There's a request for
Thank
a link.
you.
That was T. Thank you so much for reminding us to promote our newsletters. My newsletter is taking a little bit of a break while I build out some things for the club, but every Friday we have a History Behind the Headlines newsletter that'll be back in January. And Sundays, we're going to have text-based interviews with scholars, and then we post when there's new episodes out as well. So we're expanding that, trying to be very useful with helpful information.
So the only person without a Substack.
I don't have a Substack. I have a newsletter.
I spent so many
Craig
years
doesn't have
blogging.
one.
You know, like I started blogging in 2012.
Maybe the Junta will come back.
That's not coming back.
I just put my Substack in the chat. You can find it's jasonherbert.substack.com. I think we've got about 40,000 subscribers. We're not huge, but we've got.
That's pretty good.
We're doing all right. You know, I want to listen in, and usually I'm talking about the work that I'm doing with tribes out here in Colorado, or talking about the podcast that I do, or posting directions on how to make the best ribs or whatever. It's a lot of personal reflection in addition to like everything else. But if you dig it, you want to talk about the South, you want to talk about Indian country, talk about public lands. We talked a lot about that. So, Jason,
that was Orbit, the history dog. He's getting a little antsy, and then this is his sister Cleo, who's also watching the film.
So they're mentioning committees of correspondence now. So I have to plug Sarah Beth Gable, who is a very advanced grad student at Brandeis, and she is working on her dissertation, which is on committees of correspondence. So,
great!
We're actually going to get some pretty exciting new work on that.
It's been a while since there's been a book on that.
Yeah, I couldn't even.
I mean, I know there was a dissertation written here at Yale a few years ago on the committees of correspondence, but it doesn't look like it's going to make it to a book.
Someone just messaged that I speak New Mexico language. Not quite though, but I am actually learning Comanche. So that's the thing I've been slowly. And I can't obviously speak Comanche yet, but I am working on my Comanche slowly. So I've got a few phrases and some
Hey,
basic
Jason, for those who have joined us that are not in your audience, do you want to tell them a little bit about the historical work you do for the Forest Service?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. While we're listening. I am so my PhD is actually in Indigenous and Environmental History, and I actually used to work for the Seminole Tribe of Florida, which is what my dissertation first book is on. It's actually on early Florida. And I worked for the Seminole Tribe for about 3 years, working on some stuff in the Everglades. And then a position came open out in Colorado for a new position called a tribal liaison, which when I came on, I was like, what do you guys want me to do? And they were like, we were hoping you would tell us. And I was like, okay. I said, well, what tribes are we working with here in Colorado? And said, we don't know. I said, okay. So basically, my job is really to kind of take, what I do is as a historian, kind of use the work that I've learned and stuff like that to kind of inform my understandings of tribal relationships out here in Colorado and Western Kansas and the Southwest. But really, my job is about making connections and forming real relationships with a number of tribes that call Colorado and Western Kansas home. Tribes like Comanche Nation, Kiowa Tribe, Southern Ute Indian Tribe, Ute Mountain Ute Tribe, Ute Indian Tribe of the Uinta and Urae Reservation, the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes, Northern Cheyenne Tribe, Northern Arapaho Tribe, Pawnee Nation, Osage Nation, Hickory Apache Nation. I'm trying my best not to leave anybody out because every time I do, I'm friends with a lot of elders on social media. And if I'm drinking out of a mug that says Comanche Nation on it, I hear about it immediately from elders in the other nations. So which is really, really fun. And it's really great. I've had a lot. You guys probably see there's a Comanche license plate over my left shoulder that I got last time I was out in Oklahoma a few months ago. It's incredible. I spent a lot of time working with tribes. I spent a lot of time learning about the environment out here in Colorado and Western Kansas, learning these mountains and streams and stuff like that. But essentially, at the end of the day, my job is to be a voice and an advocate for tribes within the Forest Service and ensure proper communication back and forth between, say, the United States Forest Service and the tribes. And I should probably go ahead and preface this, like I said earlier, or whatever, postface this, I don't know. None of this is brought to you by the United States Forest Service, the federal government, or Smokey Bear. But I really, really love the work I do with the tribes. It really does give my life a lot of meaning. I have a Comanche name. which is Pianapeng, which I was saying a little bit earlier. It means Bigfoot, and I actually have a Ute name as well. It's Quayeret, which means bear. And my Seminole name is actually Ishtijadiabaga, which means man who associates with the Indians. So we've got a lot of love for the tribes, and it's cool. So there you go. Hope that wasn't too much.
They're talking. I mean, the work you do with them is quite amazing. They're talking now about the slavery metaphor, and it's
correct.
I think of the slavery metaphor as sort of in its sort of tandem with the family metaphor, right? As the sort of two sort of kind of defining metaphors of the patriot rhetoric during the imperial crisis.
The Edmund Burke. Now that is different than the Edmund Fitzgerald. Is that correct? Do we have many sea shanties from the time period, Michael? Because I feel like that would really help.
Yeah,
the Ken Burns story here.
Yeah, you can. You can find. I mean, there's I don't know if you remember, like I think the Mass Historical put out a database, Isaiah Thomas's collection of broadsides, and there was like a lot of sheet music in that, of just pub songs and.
That may have been the Antiquarian Society.
Maybe it was the Antiquarian Society.
They hold his papers.
Yeah, yeah, it would have been the Antiquarian Society. That's right. Which he of course established in 1812, right?
Mm-hmm. Watching them zoom in on a pot of tea. Are you tea drinkers?
Yes,
I am.
Hot or sweet tea or iced tea? Like
Liz and I both.
I can't drink sweet tea. Sweet tea, unsweetened tea in the South.
Careful now.
Sweet.
Now, Liz and I both have the fancy automatic.
I'm representing the Southern colonies, Liz.
I know. I do love tea. I like black tea and herbals.
How about you, Michael?
I like black tea black with sugar.
Now, I take it straight. Nothing in it.
I drink my hot tea, just mint tea. It's calming.
I love mint tea. I like Moroccan mint tea over spearmint.
I mean, this stipulation in the Tea Act of the tax having to be paid upon unloading.
Thank you, Scarlett.
Right, rather than at the point of sale, always strikes me as a sort of really interesting and probably unfortunate choice. I think the idea was that was going to minimize opportunities for resistance, but what it ended up doing was creating one focused moment of resistance, right, in each colony, because they all had their own version of the Tea Party.
I'm less familiar. Could it just be easier to control? It's less about trying to be resistant. Just it's easier to collect it at the port than it would be to collect it from a shop or a distributor.
Yeah.
Can we pause for a second, because Phil DeWar is really kind of talking about the appropriation of indigenous identity during the Tea Party, and this is a really important thing. That you're going to see this over and over again, especially if you guys were reading this or watching this, and maybe not familiar with this. You're going to often see settlers claim this indigeneity either outrightly or whatnot, as a way to like kind of talk about their rights to the land and so forth. And it goes over, as you can probably imagine, it goes over really poorly in Indian country. I can't tell you how many times that I talk to people, and let's say talk about what I do, and people say, I've got a Cherokee, and in my head going, great grandmother, she was a princess. I know these stories, right? And it continues to be a trope all the way to 2026 as we're getting into next year.
So the big question here is this violence? And this is a big thing that's even into the 19th century, the idea of the identities are withheld. So is the Tea Party violence, or is this a political act like more akin to the boycotts than sort of tearing down Hutchinson's house?
I mean, it is the case
property.
that elites would have thought of property damage as a form of violence.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because Yeah. So the question: did they only destroyed private property? The T, and then the famous story is they smashed a lock on one of the ships and then paid for it.
Yeah.
To show that they are ethical patriots.
Ethical destroyers of property.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's actually my band name. The Ethical Destroyers of Property.
That could work.
The IDP for short. EDP, excuse me.
Yeah, Adam, I can hear Meryl Streep too. She's a good voice for Mercy Otis Warren.
She's got a future.
I'll be honest, when Apple did the Benjamin Franklin series, Michael Douglas was not, in my opinion, a good Ben Franklin.
No, well, you could not escape the shadow of Tom Wilkinson in that series.
For me, Tom Wilkinson was so definitive, but even if you took him out of the equation, I don't know that even by the time I got to the end of that series and I watched it all, that I even yet was able to buy him.
So I did not like the Ben Franklin series. It was
I don't know, but I fear.
Thanks, Kelsa. Tom is Ben, and that's it.
Yeah,
Kelsa has spoken.
I fear that Michael Douglas didn't want to look like Ben Franklin. Like he
didn't look like Franklin.
It was like
he looked like Michael Douglas.
He just like I want to look more handsome than Ben Franklin. Mm-hmm. He didn't go all in.
He portrayed Franklin as kind of frail and kind of out of it too, I thought.
Well, as a guy who also
Franklin was old,
gout,
but I don't think he was out of it.
But
also, I mean, I think
talking about tarring and feathering, and there's the article by Ben Urban on this, which is really, really interesting, and probably I think they're probably like.
But as you know, it's the tar, not the feathers that get you.
Of course. Though I think it's the case that though there were sort of isolated incidents, it's something that only really starts to be taken up later in the Imperial Crisis, is the sort of argument that he kind of makes. It wasn't like throughout. But it's the tar that gets you for sure. I mean, the feathers are that's the mocking, right? That's the shame part of it. But of course,
I remember always having to explain to undergrads that they have to heat up the tar to get it to stick.
As Patrick was just saying, it's funny because you think of tar and feathering and you think of that image, but then you saw it in HBO's John Adams series, and you're like, oh. Absolutely. That is seriously gruesome and
absolutely
awful.
I remember showing that scene in a high school class I was teaching when I was writing and not realizing we were going to get to see all of the gentlemen being tarred and feathered. And that was...
You got called into the principal's office.
No, I escaped that one. I got in trouble later on for talking about Trump in class, but aside from that, I was good on that. I was fine on the nudity.
So patriots, especially Boston patriots, they're great at propaganda. And, the cause of Boston being the cause of America. And as we know, the pork bill, it continued to let them food and fuel, but they were able to portray it as, no, they're literally starving us.
I'm sorry, I can't.
I do think the coercive acts are really important. That's where my TV is at now.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's the first time, like, it's one thing to say, oh, Boston, they deserve it. Those New Englanders, they're so troublesome. But those acts of punishment, I think they really hit home for everybody else in the colonies, saying that if England can do that to Boston and Massachusetts, what's to stop them from doing it here? And then you start to see colonies like Virginia and Pennsylvania and others take a real stand after the coercive acts, because they do fear similar style retribution.
I think it's a really important point to talk about, right? Because we talk about, say, these 13 colonies specifically, and looking back 250 years later, of course, we're one nation now, but these were separate individual colonies who did not like each other. They often, created trade wars with one another. They were constantly beefing. They quite literally thought of themselves as separate. They were Virginians. They were Marylanders. They were whomever.
Here's a case in point. They've been around since 1607, right? The British colony, the English colonies. It takes them until 1777 under the Articles of Confederation, really 1781, before they form a union. So they started this series with the Albany Conference and the Albany Plan of Union, right? but they can't agree on it because all of these colonies do not want to lose their autonomy and union. It takes a war and French military aid assistance and backroom politics to get them to unite.
Yeah, imagine. I mean, it takes them almost as long, right, as say from 1776 till now to come together. It's essentially like be coming together in the 1970s. As far as the time, it takes a really, really long time to find this shared identity, and even then, that the shared identity thing comes later on. But I mean, just
St. Wajda just post the link to all the voice actors so we can follow along.
Oh, lovely. Doug says that'd still be in 1763.
Did someone say something about land?
Oh, but it doesn't tell you who they said. It just says they're in it.
Doesn't matter. I was telling this to either Craig or Michael the other day. Like, I feel like what we need is Peter Coyote to go through and just get in front of an AI. I'm sorry, we need to get him in front of some kind of voice creator so that we've got him for every historical documentary from here on out. Like, once he's an elder gentleman now,
so apparently Deloria said that the revolution was only about land. That is one very small segment.
It was in part about land. I don't buy this all about
things.
Land. Right. It's all.
Yeah, no, I mean the causes. I mean, I pick something and it's there, but I think it's problematic when you try to boil anything down to a singular cause.
That is an AI image of a flickering candle in Colonial Williamsburg. They do not allow open flames in the building
anymore.
And I'm actually surprised. When I was there, I led the digital media team into recreating the dissolving of the House of Burgesses and some of the votes that they had. So I'm kind of surprised they didn't people it, because it was like the largest convening of people dressed in 18th century dress and talking about these things since the 1950s.
Can I give a shout out to Christy Coleman, who is director over at the Jamestown Yorktown Museum in Colonial Williamsburg? She brought me up there. I gave a talk about film and history and stuff like that. Only been there one time. I got COVID. So, like, if you are watching my presentation, which you can find on C-SPAN, I had gotten, nobody knew it then. Both Christy and I had gotten COVID apparently like an hour earlier in the green room, because came back to Florida afterwards, and all of us got sick immediately afterwards. But James, if you're a history buff, you like history, go to Colonial Williamsburg. It's like Disneyland. It's a special place.
Well, the thing is, Disneyland tried to actually open something like that, didn't they, in the area at one point? Like, it was like American.
Well, there's a Liberty Square. Of course, you guys know I used to work at Walt Disney World, and Disney is my favorite place in the world. So every time I go to the parks, I always eat at the Liberty Tree Tavern.
Well, it was supposed to be Liberty Street,
right?
And so Walt Disney did announce this in like the late 50s on his show, and they were going to use all the sets from Johnny Tremain to create this whole street that was like revolutionary Boston. And the plans just kind of fell through for that. And eventually they ended up with Liberty Square. But that didn't open until I think the early 70s. So like that had a long gestation period.
Some sort of major event, maybe an anniversary.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know that. I think it was just that. I don't know. I don't know. Well, I don't actually know why it never like went forward. But Walt Disney was when they had an episode of the Walt Disney where he showed the Ben and Me cartoon. Do we know that cartoon? Where there's like a little mouse that basically tells Ben Franklin's like a bumbling idiot, and the mouse tells him what to say and do, and then he showed that, and then he also showed like clips from Johnny Tremain like just before it was released. It was like a preview kind of thing.
There used to be a really terrific.
We're getting into the militias now.
Yeah. Man, this is moving.
Yeah, I wonder how they're going to fit. Like, They're going to fit another 5 days of this.
First episode, and every other episode's going to be like a year and a half.
Well, you need slow zoom-ins on Washington and the snow, so got to have 2 hours of that at least.
Actually, the next 5 episodes are all about colonial Florida. I made a deal with Burns. Florida's finally going to get the respect
they should get some credit.
Not 1, but 2 Floridas, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of suspect that once we get into the further episodes that it's going to start to feel more like the Civil War documentary in terms of soldiers' recollections and stuff like that.
So Liz, I know you interviewed the directors. Where are they get filming?
They filmed a lot at Colonial Williamsburg. They also filmed at many historic sites they could go, at different reenactments. They reused some footage, I think, in some places, and they did their archival research. Like, I think this image here is actually Plymouth Plantation, or Plymouth Patuxent is what it's called now.
Just saw someone who referenced Woody Holton a second ago.
Yeah.
Woody Holton is amazing. He's the only guest I've ever had come on who sang on my podcast.
For real?
Yeah, he sang some Hamilton.
He used to be on Twitter back when we were all over there, and I remember he used to get into some flame wars back in the day. He would throw down.
Well, his 70, when we print out his 76-part tweets. I would totally sing on a podcast. You have to have me on.
You don't write about colonial America.
You would sing on the podcast, Greg?
Of course I would.
Okay, get in touch and we'll work it out. Do you dance too? Oh, well, I don't do video, but I could record it.
Oh, well, if you want dancing, you got to pay.
Oh,
Singing
okay.
they'll do for free.
Yeah, I don't sing on podcasts, unfortunately.
Liz, what's your production time for a pod? Like, how much time does it usually from the time that you start looking for a guest to the time that episode is produced per episode?
So we're highly produced because at some point I realized that this was my scholarship and I wanted it to be like the books I hadn't written would be, which are totally top notch. So we spend about an hour per labor per minute you hear for a standard interview, and if we do narrative, it's easily double that and more.
Oh my goodness.
Because I, like you, Jason, I really read the books. Yep. And so does Joe and Karen when they guest host episodes. We interview them, and then I really edit those episodes. Like, I may have to move things around. I take out extraneous speech because I never want us to dumb down history. History is complicated enough, and I think people can do that, but you don't need to be confused by miswordings or part of the story that doesn't flow right. So, I really want to make it easy for people.
People are usually surprised when I tell them that for every episode, probably 11 hours of labor that goes into, like, for me at least, between finding the guest, arranging the time, watching the film that we do if we're doing a movie pod, reading the books, editing it, and then promoting it. Probably every bit of 11 hours.
Yeah, people sometimes think, like, here's the secret. If it sounds really easy and natural and perfect, the more time went into editing that episode.
It's a really good point.
Designed to be sound easy and to make it sound like we just turned on the mic and had that conversation. And all the great shows do it. Terry Gross does that too. That show is heavily edited. Yeah. And it made me feel better. Mary Sarah Builder's sister works for WHYY and told me that. And I was like, oh my God, I feel so much better now.
Do we know that Woody Holton is not in this episode?
I don't know.
Just seen references to him in the chat. Folks have brought him up.
What is
the book of his that I like so much? The Slavery in Virginia. Is it the founder, fourth founders? I'm always amazed at, like, other scholars' ability to, like, bring up books and quote them like it's nothing, because I have the worst time with that. And I've read, right now I'm reading 3, 4, 5 books a week right now, and I can't keep up with anything. It just goes to some space.
Yeah.
Huh?
I read multiple books a week too. I mean, I don't finish them all, but I have many books that are started in various stages of reading.
I've been in like book writing mode, it feels like, for so long, like going from one to the other, that like I feel like I rarely had breaks to like just read normally.
So Josh Piker, I know, who is a scholar that I really, really admire. I know Josh a little bit. When he came out of graduate school, I think he had like a year before he started his position. And he, as I understand, just went and just read everything. And it shows up because he's like a genius.
Josh and I used to joke when we worked at the Omohundro Institute together that collectively we were the most well-read historian because he read all the journal articles and I read all the books.
I'm going to tell you something. Acorn Whistler is one of the most interesting, complicated, like how he came up with. So you guys listening in, Josh Piker wrote this amazing book called The Four Deaths of Acorn Whistler, telling stories in early America. Oh, I guess I am quoting books. Or he talks about the murder of this Creek dude named Acorn Whistler from 4 different perspectives. And it's a micro history, but how he comes at this is just, it's phenomenal.
Man, this first Continental Congress seems to have gone by like in a flash.
Yeah, it's like how much revolution are we going to have? Are we going to France after this? Are we going to Haiti? Like,
yes, they said there is a Caribbean element to this documentary, and we will be talking about France and Spain. I don't know about the Dutch, the Fourth Anglo-Dutch War, the Dutch economic help, but really the story of St. Eustatius and supply of guns and war material, and how it laid up Admiral Rodney from showing up to the Battle of the Capes.
Okay.
He never made it. That allowed the French to win. That is an amazing story. And we'll be covering it on the podcast. And actually, I learned this week, the Jewish History Museum in Philadelphia is going to have an exhibit opening in April on the story of St. Eustatius. So it's an amazing story nobody knows about, but I'm obsessed. I've been to the island like 3 times. And I'm going next November for 250th of the first salute. The Dutch Republic, under the auspices of St. Eustatius, was the first to salute the new American flag when a ship arrived in its port, the Andredoria.
Well, speaking of the Caribbean and colonies, we still have colonies to this day in the Caribbean, one of which being Puerto Rico, right?
Puerto Rico.
And we've got a pod dropping tomorrow with Ed Morales talking about.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, it's good, Liz. I've said for years that I'll die in Puerto Rico. Like
And Jason, where can people find your podcast?
Well, it's funny you ask, Liz, because I'm posting a link right now on the
perfect
on the thread. You can find Reckoning with Jason Herbert wherever you listen to your podcast. But that wasn't why I was bringing this up. But it is relevant, right? Because we still do have we think of colonies. I think sometimes it's like this thing that people had prior to World War II. But the United States still has, as Gina Maria just said, the United States Virgin Islands, Guam, American Samoa. The United States still has colonies. Now, we call them commonwealths now, but they are de facto colonies. And that's a source of a lot of contention, both inside what we'd consider the mainland United States and also in those territorial possessions.
It's interesting that Nathaniel Philbrick's lower third describes him as writer, not historian.
Ooh. So can I be the guy that actually advocates for pop historians? Like, I think that they do so much work. For those
I think they're a great gateway to history, even if their histories are a little bit off.
Right? I think it's very easy for academic historians. And by that, I mean people who are kind of in the biz or whatever, professors of wherever or whatever, or got the 3 letters behind their name, like all 4 of us do, to kind of poop on the work of people who write books that you can find at Barnes & Noble versus wherever. And I think that they do so much work in getting the conversation started, in introducing and making these histories available to people. And maybe you read Joe Ellis's stuff and you go, wow, I want to learn more about this. I want to learn, or, whoever, it's like, hey, yeah, Laura, absolutely. Right. My advisor at Minnesota, David Chang, has written a really beautiful book on the history of Hawaii called The World and All the Things Upon It, Native Hawaiian Geographies of Exploration. Oh,
Well, Jason,
Um,
it's funny. You were talking about the origin stories of historians at the movies.
yeah.
So when I worked with the National Park Service as an undergrad, I was an interpretive ranger in Boston, and I worked there just before and just after David McCullough published John Adams. And I witnessed the quality of questions changed, and I began to wonder if a professionally trained historian could have as much success as McCullough had. Now, I haven't had it as much success, but he's definitely, like, looking back on it, I couldn't have articulated it then, but I can articulate that now. That was a defining moment for me because I became very fascinated in the way that historians communicate history,
I,
and whether we could, and we probably can't because we get too attached to the story and we know so much. And not that McCullough didn't, but especially with journalistic training, you're trained to get just the information you
story
need
out
to
there.
write the story. Where we're just like we're reading all the time and we have all this details and depth, and we can't let it go when we write our books.
there's an
I
interesting.
agree, but I also think there's some constraints that we, by and large, most people with PhDs want to get a job as a professor, and there are certain fields or topics that are trendier than others. And if you write a book like McCullough, you're not getting it. So I think that is part of it.
Yeah, that's true. I think the other thing is that as academic historians, one of our goals is to recover the complexity of the past, and complexity is not the best thing for a popular history. Which is not that's not a criticism. I don't mean that as a criticism. It's a function of like Liz was saying, that kind of journalistic training and getting just right to the thing that that you're focused on, and being able to tell a story. And complexity makes it harder to tell a story, right? So
I want to get through this thing real fast because we're getting to Revere. Someone just mentioned Black Sails. I love that show. It's terrific. Also, I have many pirate tattoos, including this one here, the one here that you can't see, the one here you can't.
Jason.
They're every.
Couldn't help yourself.
If you'd like to see tattoos of my arms my arms, you can go to my Instagram page at Herbert History. There you go. Many, Scarlett.
We've just learned what Sean Bean did not know in National Treasure, that how many lanterns were there in the steeple?
The regulars are coming out. Is it the Lexington and Concord National Historic Site that does such a good job? I remember when I visited.
They all do
Boston,
a really good job.
Yeah,
man.
they do.
Like the running fight that happens once things get going is just crazy.
Well, there is this conflict between the two towns, especially in the early 19th century, about which was the site not of the beginning of the fighting necessarily, but who fired the first. What was the site where the colonists fired the first shot at the British?
The Battle of Lexington.
I mean, that's what Lexington called.
Or are you talking about Northbridge?
The people of Concord, and they were issuing pamphlets and books.
Well, you're arguing about where was
1930s, making the case that
you're arguing about where was the shot heard around the world fired, and
essentially,
I think if you ask anyone outside of Concord, it's Lexington.
Yeah,
but if you ask someone from Concord, it's always Concord. Concord is technically correct, but it's not the first shot.
Well, it's because there's testimony from the captain of the Lexington
no one knows where the shot came from.
Lexington did not fire back.
Yeah, no one does know. I think Fisher's got it probably close to right. It's probably two shots come pretty close together from opposite sides or something of the sort.
I'm just saying that's how the debate went on in the 1820s, so around the coming of the Jubilee.
Yeah, Torres trade.
Yeah, which was a pretty fierce historical debate between those two towns. And think about it, there's high stakes to that debate, right?
Of course.
Because whichever site it is, has a
It's money. It's
significant claim
economics.
on the
It's tourists.
origin, on being the origin of the origin story of the nation.
I'll be honest, I didn't think we were going to get to Lexington tonight. I'm a little worried because,
How
after
fast
this,
they're moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, at first we were
They're
all like,
moving
yeah,
really fast.
native stuff.
I think we're gonna hit independence, right?
That's
Well,
way
these are
too-
editorial choices.
And,
I mean, maybe that might be the thing is to like get the. And this is a good thing to talk about when we talk about like the memory
We
of
may
this and how
actually
we
hit
tell these
Bunker Hill
stories.
tonight.
We got to get to July 1776 to hook
So
the audience in to get them to listen
We're
on
getting
Monday.
Bunker
So
Hill,
what I'm
for
curious
sure.
about is this American Revolution going to be like the war, mostly
Yeah,
the war
absolutely.
rather than the revolution?
Well, do you want to talk
David and
about
Sarah
that?
says it's all of it, but I think it's going to be a largely military story.
The last episode in the descriptions and like the episode descriptions is 1783.
Okay.
Like there's like the Constitution is not going to be part of this.
Well, this is an interesting thing, right? Because if you're a historian and you ask 100 different historians what the cause of the revolution was or what the periodization of the revolution is, you're going to get 100 different answers.
Absolutely.
But like a lot of historians will say that the revolution, for all intents and purposes, they'll either go to 1789 and the ratification of the Constitution, or they'll go up to the War of 1812.
Yeah, or 1800. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, look, there's real stakes involved also in, what you choose as whatever the start date is or the end date. If you think it starts, in 75, then that's suggesting that it is a military story. If your story ends in 83, that's also suggesting.
Well, I mean, that's essentially
a military story, right?
The argument between there's an American Revolution and then there's also a Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really kind of the way I can kind of conceptualize the two. The revolution itself is this intellectual movement towards self-governance. Right.
So
Among
we're
other
four
great-
historians. Where do you, like all of us, where do you start and where do you end the revolution in your periodization? What does it start with and what does it end with?
1754.
Yeah, I'm with Jason. It's the early rumblings.
I kind of go.
He's a man of 1688 or something.
I'm
Okay.
a believer in the long revolution. I really kind of think that when we talk about the formation,
revolution. You just said 1754.
hear me out. I believe in the formation and solidification of the United States. So really, I got to go 1754 to really 1814. Really, because after the end of that second engagement, Britain is going, okay, they're on their own. Right, they no more of this now. Whether the United States fails or whatever, but it's not going to be because the British are trying to invade again. So I think it's really started the 7 Years' War all the way through the end of the War of 1812 is really kind of where I go with this, and with the Revolutionary War as we know it, right, 1775 to 1783 being maybe the center of this long story. That's kind of where
I just want to jump in and say I just back in April I was up in Concord for a conference, and I got the chance to go see the bridge for the first time, and it was actually quite an amazing thing. It's quite an amazing sight. And
Gee,
they're
I like
showing
it.
it now.
So Michael,
and I was actually there at a time of day where it very much looked like this, and it was pretty amazing.
So Michael, where do you start and end it? And talk to us in the chat. We're not the only ones here who have a great knowledge of the revolution. So tell us what you think.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it would be 63 probably.
That is a fair traditionalist. I'm surprised you're such a traditionalist.
I'm also
I mean,
a 1763 person.
I mean, I could say 1640. But
you can make any case.
You can make any case, of course,
with these revolutionary movements in 1688 and others.
But when we talk about 63, are we really talking about the end of the 7 Years' War? We talk about the Proclamation of 1763.
Yeah, we're talking about both of those. That's because
which is more important because I kind of think it's the latter.
I don't think you need the narrative of 54 to 63 to tell the story of the revolution.
Okay.
That's what I would say. But then the other question is, I will say that, most people in the 18th century argued that the revolution started in 1775, or 74. The earliest would be 74 because they saw everything before that not as part of a revolution. They were essentially isolated acts of resistance, that ended up leading to. But the other question is, when do you end it?
Well, again,
1800.
I want to push back because, again, you can't talk about indigenous engagement in what we consider the Revolutionary War without understanding who and why they allied themselves with in 1754, 1756.
That's fair. That is a good argument.
That's fair.
I mean, but you can't talk about it in 1763 because, like you said, the proclamation line and things start to really fall apart. And then it also allows you to talk about like the alliances and the neutrality requests that are forming in the early period just before the war breaks out.
Yeah. For me, it's the decisive turning point in British imperial administration when Grenville comes in. That's the beginning of all of the stuff that's going to happen in the 1760s.
And I think Patrick made the case here that he would start in 1754 because too many people don't know about the 7 Years' War.
Okay,
and it is really important to understand.
And just so you guys know, there's a film coming out next year. Actually, Craig and I just did an emergency pod on the trailer to this called Young Washington. It's coming out July 3rd next year. It's by a faith-based company, but it's starring some big names. It's got Andy Serkis, Kelsey Grammer, and Sir Ben Kingsley in this film. Like
Andy Serkis.
Interesting. Yeah.
You can find the trailer. Just Google Young Washington trailer. It's out.
It looks good, but we are a little
just
bit
a teaser trailer.
We wait to see what is delivered.
So when do we end it? Liz has 1800. Craig.
Oh, 18. I'm going to be even more traditionalist than you. I'm going to go War of 1812 ends it. We reinforce it.
Craig, are we agreeing on history?
Yes, we generally do agree on things, except
I think. No, I think it ends with ratification. I think that's the last revolutionary moment.
I think they have to argue out Congress and get it all set up.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of the 1790s for me is sort of like the equivalent of the revolutionary settlement in England in the 1690s. You have this revolution, and then you have to have the period of settlement. So how we're going to go forward, and I think that to me that's what the 1790s.
So here's the question. Do we believe in the continuing American Revolution, or do we think there is a firm end date? And I don't just mean like in the classroom where we have to slap a number on a syllabus.
I don't know about a continuing
revolution. Believe that each generation wrestles with the questions of the revolution, and you can I think you can absolutely make a case that is the ongoing revolution. So if that's the case, I am a believer in it.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's one of the threads of my book that, that there is this long tradition of the unfinished revolution, especially among liberal social movements, right? That goes back to the abolitionists, Frederick Douglass, the women's rights movements, all the way up into the 20th century, the civil rights movements, even the gay and lesbian rights movements of the 1970s. And I think that is a really important. I actually think that's a really important history for people to know. Right, because it puts you in this very long and important tradition in American politics of redefining the revolution, redefining the first principles of the revolution, like liberty and equality, right? And instead of thinking of those ideas as fixed, abstract, universal ideas. That they're the opposite, right? They have different meanings at different times, and it's really incumbent, I think, on every generation to define those terms for themselves. I really hope that that's what the 250 does, is that it provides a platform for people to have those kinds of discussions and think about what liberty and equality mean in our.
Michael, I just plugged our conversation, your interview about that book in the chat. People can find it.
I remember that book. That was the book the press did not send me when Mike was on the podcast. I'm just saying.
Are you serious?
They never sent it. It's okay. I mean, I carried on like the revolution. It's cool.
Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard that.
It was intercepted by redcoats.
I have Craig's book, though. I'm just saying.
You have like 10 copies of that by now.
I do. They're great coasters.
I was going to ask, do you just, I mean, I have every edition of Balin's Ideological Origins, and I had to get a new one of 2 of them because I wrote in them and then wanted to read them fresh.
Can I tell you what I really love? I actually love the advanced reader copies. Like, those are like, when I get those from the press, I kind of like, I love the hardbacks because they're pretty and stuff like that. But the advanced reader copies are just cool because like they're not available outside of like the niche. They're kind of kind of collectors. I give a lot of them away, but I think they're fun to have.
I also give away and donate a lot of the books sent for the podcast.
You gave me a book once back when I was merely a reader and not your friend.
I'm sure I did. I gave them to everybody.
I can't remember what it was, but I'm sure it was great.
I try to actually donate them a lot to libraries. Yeah. Actually, the BPL only will resell them. So I'm going to, now that we moved back, I used to give them to the grad students at William & Mary, and before that to the Boston Athenaeum, because if I can put it in the ILL system, that's great. Now that we're moved back, I'm going to work with the Massachusetts Historical Society, and then any books they don't want, I give to a charity here in Boston called More Than Words, and they teach inner city youth about entrepreneurship and leadership through running a bookstore. And so, like, ethically, we can't sell those, and raise money for our show because they were given. So we try to make sure that they're donated and benefiting the community, whether that's the history community or the broader communities we live in.
I have a question for you guys. How many books do you own? Do you know?
Yeah, sort of. Yes.
Yeah, I bet you do. You've always got a number. What's the number?
It's like 1,789.
And 1789. And I want to hear this in the chat too. How many books you guys have?
And I'll be honest, I use my books. That is my working library. But I have to say no to more books because I've run out of bookshelf space here.
So
I think I'm about 1,300 right now.
I don't
You're in the
know.
house?
Nice, T. T has about 4,500 because he has access to the database. That's the way to do it.
I don't know.
Except I have to flip through them when I'm looking for information. I need to be able to thumb through the index.
We just
I have to finish writing my book.
We put in a full library in the house, like built-ins, like everything, like modeled after like Bell's library type thing.
That's nice.
Yeah.
What's your number, Craig?
I wanted a watch. I was told this was better.
What's your number, Craig?
I have no idea.
Here's Mandy Patinkin.
It's a full-on like library built-in, like floor to ceiling full. I don't know.
I had that in my house in Virginia, but we moved back to Boston.
I have
that.
I can give away extra copies. I cannot give away my copies.
I actually don't have many books at this point because
you just study historians.
After grad school, by the time I graduated grad school, I had over 1,000 books, and we've always lived in very small apartments, especially in grad school. So that took up a lot of space,
and they cost a lot to move.
Well, that was the thing. I was moving out of grad school. I was moving from here to Illinois, and we were so broke at the time that I ended up shipping pretty much almost all my belongings, like just through UPS. And to do the books would have probably tripled the cost of that, because probably the books were probably, a significant chunk of the weight of all of my personal belongings.
Stephanie, that idea sounds awesome.
I gave them to a grad student. I probably gave half of them to a grad student, and I sent half of them to my brother's house, where they've been in his basement for 7 years.
The other thing is, it's nice when you live in a big city and there are nice libraries, but I've spent most of my career being independent and not attached to like a scholarly library where I can take out books for months at a time. Yeah. So I've ended up purchasing a lot of books just because I needed them for my dissertation, and living in Albany did not provide me access to books I could take home on a regular basis, because they were special collection books. So it was easier and cheaper to just buy my own.
Our episode is over.
Being back in New Haven, that's why I haven't really rebought lots of books, because I have access to the university library.
All right, so we've completed the first episode here. We just gonna
Thank you so much for coming, friends.
Yeah, it just kind of ended. It's like
it's like a rough draft of a paper. It's like, okay, I'm good. I hit my page number.
Well, please keep in mind, like we said, that we may reprise this and we do an event after everybody's had a chance to watch the whole series, so we can watch and not have everybody be distracted. Because I know I'm going to have this episode because I did not really watch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just
to have a general sense of its like layout of like this.
I pieced it together. My initial reactions are I'm not that impressed.
Well, it's very straightforward.
I don't know. I think it's going to be another gateway for people. It's causing already a lot of conversation, and that leaves room for us to join in and expand.
I think that's great. Again, I think anything we could do to get people to watch is a great thing. I think I was just expecting more. I guess the media push has been so much that I don't know.
All right, I wonder if they maybe overdid that a little bit, to be honest. But I mean, what I think about it doesn't really matter. I think I see, I can see, I could see people really enjoying this.
All right, so
I just wish that it took longer to get to where we are. I feel like 2 episodes up until mid 75 would have done some justice.
Right.
If you have questions as you watch along the way, please feel free to send me an email, liz@benfranklinsworld.com. And I also know that you can reach out to Michael either on Facebook or on Blue Sky, Jason. And Craig, I haven't seen you on Blue Sky, but maybe we're just not following each other. I'm on there somewhere.
I'm just Craig Bruce Smith and whatever other random letters come after that.
So a couple things. You guys can find me, just the derivations of @HerbertHistory on Blue Sky, on Instagram, or on TikTok as well. You can find the podcast Reckoning with Jason Herbert, or you can just Google Jason Herbert podcast. It'll find it, right? We're going to release this as one of our pods as well. So you guys want to listen in as well, or just come in and listen. We've got a lot of shenanigans. We've got a pod tomorrow about the history of Puerto Rico. And then later this week, we've got a pod on Apollo 13, the film Apollo 13, with the man who wrote the book Apollo 13 and his new book about the Gemini missions. So we've got a bunch of different stuff. So on Mondays, we kind of have a more traditional history discussion. And on Wednesdays, Thursdays, we have like a film and history discussion. So if you want to check that out, Reckoning with Jason Herbert.
And you can find Ben Franklin's World wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me at benfranklinsworld.com, or again, the History Explorers Club. And I will be sending you an email tomorrow if you signed up via Eventbrite or are already on our History Explorers Club waitlist, because we're going to have a nice special sale tomorrow on membership. And we have several live historian events a month. And the reason we're paid is because I pay the historians to join us. So historians do get paid for their expertise when they share it with us. So keep an eye out for that. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks for letting me
spend the night with us.
Actually guest.
And that's a wrap here at Reckoning with Jason Herbert. Thank you so very, very much to our guests, our partners in crime. I don't even know what to call our patriots here, but thank you so much to Liz Covart, Michael Hattem, and Craig Bruce Smith for being here. Thank you, of course, always to our producer, Fletcher Powell, for making this show run. And thank you to all of you for being here. Rain or shine, I love you guys so very, very much. We've got a bunch of stuff coming up this holiday season, and I hope you like it. So if you like this podcast, make sure you leave a review, a good one this time, and also share this with your friends. So thanks for being here. Ciao for now. Bye.